Good evening, sir. This is the continuation of our reports. When one of the debts arises from a deposit, Article 1287, a deposit is a contract where a person receives a thing belonging to another for safely keeping it and of returning the same. The depositor may claim compensation or oppose one that is being claimed by the depository. The deposit referred to here is different from a bank deposit, which is actually a contract of loan. In a bank deposit, the bank and its client have a debtor-creditor relationship. Either one therefore may claim compensation. So, sa example, C is the depository of this ring. Previously, D made a promise to give a ring to C. If D demands the return of the ring he deposited with C, C cannot refuse to return it by claiming that D owes him a ring. However, if C demands the delivery of a ring from D, as D had promised, D may, at his option, set off the claim of C against his own claim for the return of the ring he deposited with C. For example, ako at si J. May dineposit si J ng ring sa akin at nag-promise din si J na may ibibigay siyang ring. Tapos ngayon, nagsabi si J na ibalik yung ring na idineposit niya. Tapos, ang gagawin ko is ibabalik ko talaga yung ring at hindi pwede na hindi ko ibalik sa kanya kasi according to Article 1287, yun nga, kapag deposit, hindi pwede na mag-refuse ako na ibigay yung ring kasi nag-promise naman si Jay na magbigay siya ng ring. So, another example is, si Boy, dineposit niya yung 100 sacks of rice worth 100,000 dun sa girl. Tapos, nag-promise si Boy na may ibigay siyang 1 billion dun sa girl. Girl cannot refuse to deliver claiming compensation. It means na kapag nagsabi si Boy na kunin niya yung sacks of rice, hindi pwedeng mag-refuse si girl na i-deliver yung sacks since hindi pwede yun siya for compensation. When one of the debts arises from the obligation of a bailee in comodatum, Article 1287, comodatum is a contract whereby the bailee acquires the use without compensation of the thing loaned but not its fruits. Article 935. Here, the lender may claim compensation or oppose one that is being claimed by the borrower. So, example, C borrowed this bicycle. D has a promise to give a bicycle to C. If D demands the return of the bicycle he lent to C, C cannot refuse to return it by claiming that D owes him a bicycle. However, if C demands the delivery of bicycle from D, as D had promised, D may, at his option, set off the claim of C against his own claim for the return of the bicycle that he loaned to C. So, itong comodatum is pinahiram mo lang. So, yung comodatum, for example, may sasakyan si Boy, tapos pinahiram niya kay girl. So, pwede na gamitin ni girl yung sasakyan for certain time lang kasi ibabalik naman ni girl. So, may utang si Boy kay girl, ipalagay natin na framework ng sasakyan worth 1 million. So, pinahiram ni Boy yung sasakyan niya, tapos may utang siya na 1 million. So, ngayon, sinabi ni girl na yung 1 million is na utang ni Boy i-exchange doon sa sasakyan, pero hindi pwede yun. Kapag nagsabi si Boy na ibalik ni girl yung sasakyan, hindi pwede na hindi ibalik ni girl yung sasakyan. Kailangan talaga kasi according yun sa Article 1287. So, itong Article 1287, compensation shall not be proper when one of the debts arises from a depositum or from the obligation of a depository or of a bailee in comodatum. So, number 3, when one of the debts arises from a claim for support by gratuitous title, Art 1287, the support referred to here is future support, not support in areas. The party entitled to receive support may claim compensation or oppose one that is being claimed by the party required to give support. So, example, si husband nagbigay ng support sa wife. So, ang nangyari, hindi makapagbigay ng support si husband kay wife, pero may utang yung wife sa husband. So, pwede yun i-compensate ng wife since siya yung nakaka-receive ng support, pero hindi pwede dun sa husband kasi siya yung nagbibigay ng support. So, number 4, when one of the debts consists in civil liability arising from a penal offense, Article 1288, here the offended party may claim compensation but not the offender. For example, Pogi owes 10,000 pesos. Tapos, later on, nag-away si Ganda at Pogi. At sa away nila dahil magaling si Ganda, she has inflicted physical injuries against Pogi. So, ang mangyayari, may physical injury na si Pogi. Dahil dyan, Pogi filed a case against Ganda and the court rendered judgment in favor of Pogi against Ganda and ordered Ganda to pay Pogi 10,000. Applying the principle, a person criminally liable is also civilly liable. So, mangyari, may utang si Pogi kay Ganda ng 10,000. And then, sinaktan ni Ganda si Pogi na may physical injury at dun sa observance sa court, kailangan magbigay si Ganda ng 10,000 kay Pogi. So, yung si Ganda, hindi siya pwede mag-claim ng compensation at dahil si Pogi yung nasaktan, pwede siya mag-compensate. Pwede niya sabihin na wag na magbayad si Ganda ng 10,000 kasi may utang naman siya sa kanya. So, compensation when one or both debts are rescissible or voidable. For example, may utang si lalaki kay babae ng 1 billion. Pero may utang din si babae ng 1 million. It is legal compensation. Galing yung utang ni babae is fraud. Na kapag nagsabi si lalaki na i-annul kasi nga fraudulent act yan, doon pa magkaroon na walang compensation. Pero kung hindi nalaman ni lalaki na fraudulent act yun, valid yun siya at pwede pang ma-compensate. So, compensation when the debts are payable at different places. For example, yung utang ni lalaki at yung utang ni babae is nasa ibang lugar. Example, lagay natin US and Philippines. May utang si lalaki kay babae $1,000. May utang si babae kay lalaki 10,000 pesos. Kung sino ang mag-claim ng compensation, siya yung magbabayad ng expenses for exchange. Rule on application of payment to apply when there are several debts susceptible of compensation. Example, si D may utang kay C worth 3,000 on March 1, another 3,000 March 15, 3,000 March 31, and 3,000 April 15. So ngayon, si C may utang kay D ng 3,000 pero April 5 pa siya mababayaran. Makita natin dun sa utang on March 1, March 15, and March 31 is demandable siya. At sa April 15 is hindi pa siya demandable. So si D na maraming utang, pwede niya i-compensate sa March 1, March 15, and March 31. Pag hindi niya magawa yon, mapupunta kay C yung choose, yung right to choose. So pwede si C na ibayad niya dun sa March 1, March 15, and March 31. At kapag di pa din maka-choose si D, yung 3,000 yung i-divided proportionally dun sa utang. Effect of assignment on compensation of debts. When the assignment was with the debtor's consent, he cannot set up against the assignee the compensation that would pertain to him against the assignor unless he reserved his right to the compensation. So, sa example natin, si D may utang siya kay C worth 20,000 due on March 15. Si C at the same time worth 8,000 and then si C may na-assign siya na tao na maningil. Kundi yung right na maningil is pinili niya si T. So now si T siya na yung maningil ng utang kay D. So, ang mangyari, nagpaalam na si C na siya na yung mag-collect ng 20,000. So, ngayon, mag-compensate si D kay C dahil nga may utang si C kay D worth 8,000. And then, nag-waive si D kay C na 12,000 yung bayaran niya kasi may utang si C ng 8,000. Therefore, nakaset up compensation si D dahil ni-reserve niya yung right niya. So ngayon, sa due date na March 15, si T, ang makolek niya lang is 12,000 dahil kapag hindi na set up yung compensation ni D, magbabayad talaga siya worth 20,000 at magbabayad din si C worth 8,000. So, another example no. Ako may utang ako kay mama ng 500. Tapos si mama may utang siya sa akin worth 300. Tapos si mama binigay niya yung right niya na maningil sa kapatid ko. Tapos na-inform ako na yung kapatid ko ang maningil sa akin. Pero ang nangyari, hindi ako compensate ng right ko na sabihin kay mama na 200 lang yung ibabayad ko. It means na yung kapatid ko pwede niya ako singilin worth 500 pesos at singilin ko yung kapatid ko sa utang ni mama worth 200. Pero kung sinabi ko na kay mama na 200 lang ibabayad ko, doon na kapag set up compensation na ako, papunta pa lang, wait lang. Pero kung sinabi ko na kay mama na 200 lang ibabayad ko, doon nakapag-set up compensation na ako para 300 na lang yung sisingilin sa akin. So, number 2. If the debtor was notified of the assignment but he did not give his consent thereto, the debtor may set up compensation of debts maturing before the assignment but not of subsequent ones. So, for example, si D may utang kay C worth 20,000 on March 15. Tapos si C may utang kay D 8,000 on March 1. And 3,000 March 8. And another 5,000 due on March 14. Pero, on March 12, si C nag-assign niya yung kanyang right to credit kay T. Ang nangyari, sinabihan ni C si D na si T ang mag-collect ng utang niya pero ayaw pumayag ni D. So, ang nangyari, yung mga mature date lang yung kasali sa compensation. In this case, sa March 12, gin-assign yung right to credit ni D. It means yung pwedeng singilin ni T kay D is worth 9,000. So, 8,000 plus 3,000 is equal to 11,000. Ito lang yung makompensate ni C kay D. So, sa 20,000 na utang ni D kay C, ang makolek lang ni C is worth 9,000 pesos. Number 3. If the assignment was without knowledge of the debtor, he can set up compensation of all debts maturing before the time he obtains knowledge of the assignment. For example, si D may utang kay C ng 20,000 on March 25. Tapos si C may utang din siya worth 8,000 March 1. Then 3,000 March 8, 5,000 on March 14, 2,000 March 31. So, ang mangyari on March 12, nag-assign si C ng kanyang credit right kay T, pero di alam ni D na si T yung maniningil. So ngayon, nalaman na lang ni D na may na-assign na maningil na si T on March 16. Ang makolek lang ni T kay D is 4,000 lang. So, ang mangyayari, ang makakompensate lang is March 1, March 8, March 14. Even though na March 12, gi-assign kay T. Pero yung case is March 16, nalaman ni D na na-assign pala kay T. It means, mapasok yung March 14 sa makompensate na amount. So, 8 plus 3,000 plus 5,000 is equal to 16,000. So, it means, in 20,000 na utang ni DKC, 16,000 na lang yung makompensate. Therefore, ang utang lang na makuha ni T is worth 4,000. Compensation in solidary obligation. For example, CA, may utang siya kay, wait lang. A is in debt to X, Y, and Z, solidary creditors for 30,000 pesos due on June 1, 2010. X in turn owes A 30,000 pesos due on June 1, 2010. Both obligation being due, they are extinguished by compensation. However, X has to give Y and Z their respective shares at 10,000 pesos each because compensation made by any of the solidary creditors shall render him liable to the others for the share in obligation corresponding to them. So, example, si A may utang siya kay X, Y, and Z. 30,000 each. 30,000 buo. Si X may utang kay A 30,000. So, pwede na i-compensate yung 30,000. So, ang mangyari, may obligation si X na magbigay ng 10,000 each kay X, kay Y and Z. So, hanggang dito na lang po and thank you.